Things to say that will always start a fight.
Let's talk about bands using backing tracks live.
Pre-recorded tracks being used in rock shows and how out of control it is and how it must stop, and we must not go down the road of pop where it's widely accepted, and live rock shows should stay live rock shows. They are cheating and faking it, and half of the stuff is recorded. It has to be a talking point. It has to be out there, and it has to be stopped.
These evil people have just got to be stopped.
Now what you just heard there was one of the many examples of Eddie Trunk, a very popular rock radio DJ, expressing his discontent for bands using backing tracks live. He's probably the biggest voice talking about this topic, and he is influential. He even has people calling into his radio show to ask what bands they shouldn't buy a ticket to go see because they're using backing tracks live.
But I want to hear from you, top 3 to 5 bands that you would say, no way am I spending money on to buy a ticket because they use tracking.
I agree that this should be a talking point, and I'd like to weigh in on it with a different point of view. This is about rock music, by the way. Most other genres don't really have as much of a stigma surrounding tracks. But anyway, this is the view of a rock music fan, a musician, and a songwriter. 3 points of view that don't always align. First, I think one of the biggest problems is we're not using the correct terminology to describe what we're talking about. There is lip syncing, that's pretending to be singing or playing while what you're hearing is a track. The musician isn't actually doing anything that you can hear. In my opinion, there's really only a couple of reasons why lip syncing should be a thing. One is music videos, where it doesn't matter what the artist is doing, you can't hear them anyway. And 2 would be live TV. In these instances, a lot of the time it's not the band who want the performance to be lip synced, but it's the television studio. They have to be prepared for a full band, and a lot of the times they're not. It requires a decent sound engineer who knows what they're doing in the context of a full live rock band, and 2, it requires time for a sound check. Time and money that the television studio might not want to part with. So they're asked to lip sync, and it results in generally a better sound, especially if the sound engineer is not experienced in that field. What's also common in these type of scenarios is a meet in the middle type arrangement, where the music being played is a track, but the vocals are live. That means that the sound engineer doesn't have to worry about really much going wrong in a live broadcast. He's got the mic sliders and he's got the track. That's it. Obviously, none of this is ideal, but if it's the difference between a band playing on TV and getting to promote their songs, or not being able to do that, obviously it's the better choice. But that's lip syncing. What about backing tracks? Those are different. Backing being the optimal word, it's the use of pre-recorded tracks of sound effects, instruments, and sometimes backing vocals to be played with a live band. If the tracks were stopped, the band would still be playing. It would still be a live performance. Now there's a few good reasons to be using backing tracks, and they all pretty much revolve around supporting the song. If a song requires a string quartet, or trumpets, or a bit of piano, it's the most economical way to do it. Only major acts, and I really do mean major, can afford to bring out different people for different parts in songs, and even then, it's at a huge expense. If you just add one extra person to a tour, that's extra food, travel, insurance, accommodation, payment for them, it's a huge cost. So when you're adding 3 backing singers, a keyboard player, and someone on extra percussion, that sort of adds up. So while I'm sure most musicians would love to play with other people live, it's just not always possible to do it. As a songwriter, I can really understand why bands use backing tracks. If a song was written with 5 vocal melodies and the backing vocal in mind, and the band is only a 3-piece live, why would we not add those extra 2 to make the song sound like it was intended to sound? That's the songwriter's point of view anyway. Some people see music as art. Some people see music as business, and some people see music as both. But if you acknowledge that music has a form of art in it, then why limit the artist to a set amount of colours? A 4-piece band, that's 4 colours, and a good artist and a good band can make that work and sound really good. But why limit them there? If the song was intended to have a big string section and a choir chorus, why are we against the only way to make that possible? It's the way the song was intended to be heard. It's the way the song was written. If you remove those tracks, the band is still going to be playing. It's just the song isn't going to sound how it was intended to sound by the writer. Now, a good example of both lip-syncing and tracks being used is the band KISS. It does seem to vary from show to show, tour to tour, but there are videos online where people have taken multiple shows from across the world and layered them on top of each other, and the music seems live, but the vocal matches perfectly. Now that would lead me to believe that the lead vocal is a track and it's being lip-synced, and in my view that's perfectly fair to criticize. It's Milli Vanilli, and girl, you know it's true. It's fake, and anyone can do it, and it's perfectly fine to criticize it. But not everybody is doing that, they're just using backing tracks. Hell, even KISS isn't doing it all the time. This particular example I'm going to show you is KISS seemingly using backing tracks quite sparingly. A little sprinkle of backing vocals in the choruses to thicken them up, but that's about it. Still heavily criticised by Eddie Trunk though. This particular example is a leaked in-ear mix of KISS playing live in Japan in 2019. You can hear that there's a click track to start off the songs, a little bit of tracks in the backing vocals, but there are still live vocals as well, and the standout of this is that there's live call-outs in their ears too, giving them stage directions, telling them to hold at the end of songs, counting them into certain songs. And this also works, I suppose, if someone breaks a string, they can tell the others to hold. It's a big production. So this is Eddie's take on it.
It is very obvious how you can hear how it works from a technical standpoint, if that's of interest to you. You literally, in your ear, if you are the lip syncer, hear a voice counting you in to when your track is coming, so you can pretend that you're singing it. Right down to cues, right down to stage raps. It's remarkable.
That's not lip syncing. That's not pretending. That's a live vocal. It's not a great live vocal, but it is a live vocal.
You can see it's literally like being in a Broadway show or something, or acting, and somebody's in your ear and you're wearing an ear monitor and somebody tells you what to do and what to say when, because the canned fake track is coming up and you have to be in sync with it. And I'm sure it'll get taken down and it'll get put back up by somebody or whatever, because it's as incriminating and as blatant as you would want to see.
I think it's probably important to mention that on any given day, KISS likely have more pyro on them than most people have on New Year's Eve. All those stops at the end of songs are synchronized with not only a massive light show, but also the pyro. And even leaving synchronization out of it altogether, it's just more of a health and safety thing too. If I was in KISS's probably 10-inch shoes, I'd want to know when pyro is going off. I'd rather not recreate Metallica 1992.
There was an incident with the pyrotechnics. Unfortunately, James is on his way to the hospital right now, and we're very sorry, but we can't continue the concert for you guys tonight.
I'm a little confused on where I should be. I walk forward, I walk back. The pyro guy doesn't see me that I've walked back out there. A big colored flame goes right up under me.
That could have probably been avoided if he had a voice in his ear telling him when and where the pyro was going to go off.
It's good practice for me to listen to this for when I go out with my Eddie and the Track show. Because as you can see, literally anybody can do this, and if fans continue to accept it and promoters continue to buy it, it doesn't matter. I have no musical talent. I can't sing. I can't play. It doesn't matter. I'll go out and do a show because it does not matter if this is what you're doing.
Okay. If you're not familiar with the band Queensryche, I highly recommend you check them out. They're fantastic musicians, they've got some phenomenal songs. And in 1991, they played the MTV Music Awards with a full symphony orchestra, and it sounded great.
So here it is, another chance. Wide awake, you face the day, your dream is over.
But in that same year, at a gig in Canada, they were using tracks instead of an orchestra. not one of them was holding a cello.
They are cheating, and it has to be stopped.
The band were just as good with a live orchestra as they were with tracks. They played the same thing. The song required a string section, and it got a string section in both scenarios. And when asked about it at the MTV Awards, the answer holds up 30 years later.
Could this be a thing in your act from now? Maybe carry a symphony orchestra around with you, you know? It's a good sound, right?
If we could fit them in the overhead bins, we'd do it.
And I can assure you that just about every band using backing tracks would agree with that answer. Sometimes it's just not possible to bring a horn section, a keyboard player, and 3 extra backing singers with you. So that's my take on backing tracks. They are very different to lip syncing, and I don't think that they should have the same stigma attached. Not everyone can do it, it's not just pressing play. But if you want to press a button, you can press subscribe, and maybe the like button too. I will see you next time in another video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.